Welcome back to Kind Regards the show. I've talked before about how most thought stinks, how we don't choose our thoughts, they just kind of happen to us. Strangely, we identify ourselves with the thoughts. If we're anything, we are our train of thought, which is bonkers because it's as much a part of us as the waves that are breaking. I don't control my train of thoughts, but there's that goofy paradox. But critically, if our thoughts were externalized as a person in the world and they were walking around beside us going, oh, maybe you should I don't know, maybe make a pizza later, and oh, by the way, that thing that you said at work, that was stupid. They probably think you're stupid. They probably talk about how stupid you are. Oh, remember how your auntie had a birthday one year? That was weird. Oh yeah, anyways, oh, what's that? A stick? Cool. If that was a person in our lives, they would be crazy. First of all, they would all be crazy, and they would suck as a companion. They would be a terrible, terrible companion. Thought is not a good helper in our lives. And yet, another paradox, so much of what populates our lives with meaning is scaffolded by thought, arguably is thought itself, wouldn't exist without it. Now I'm standing on a rock face and there's the sun and the waves. This is not exactly thought. Obviously the labels are, but the camera that I'm filming on, the shirt that I'm wearing, I made a coffee in a coffee machine earlier. All of this stuff is the product of thought. E equals MC squared is, and Jackson Pollock's work arguably is, and there's just a million things, that are meaningful in your life that were made by a thinking person because of thoughts that they had. Why is there this huge differential between the endless stream of crap that is running through all of our minds day after day, this lost in thought BS, and the thought that created most of the world that we care about and inhabit? Why is there a huge differential? And I think that the differential exists because of structured and unstructured thought. I think that thought is an excellent servant, but a terrible master. And what we need to do is we need to give thought tasks to do that we actually want it to do, right? If we don't, then thought is just going to run wild all the time. I mean, it's probably going to run wild all the time anyway, let's be real, but it's definitely not going to get anything done. We can at least direct it and focus it and get some stuff done. And I'm going to run through a handful of journaling techniques in this video, which are ways of directing thought, ways of scaffolding thought so that it actually accomplishes something in our lives. And I hope you enjoyed it. All right, first of all, we're going to do the subconscious thought direction, which is closing the loop. You ask yourself a question, you go to bed, you wake up, you write down answers to that question, because in sleep, your brain is just going to be gathering and squirreling away nuts of wisdom, hopefully, for you to use. This is probably the easiest and simplest one, because it does just rely on your dream head to do all the work for you. Not all the ideas are going to be fire, but some of them will be. Critically, do it just before you go to bed. Sleep, your nice sleep. I hope you have nice sleep. And as soon as you wake up, write down the answers to the question. Closing the loop, simple as that. Secondly, you might have noticed that your thoughts are not naturally very thankful. Instead, they might be more complainy, a bit nitpicky. Oh, this burger would be better if there was extra pickles on it. That kind of stuff. If you're anything like me, complains a little bit and wants everything to be better always than it is. But we know that happy people they feel a lot of gratitude and they're very thankful for things that we all take for granted. They're grateful that they can get up and walk outside. They're grateful for the sunlight. They're grateful for the cool wind that unburdens them from the heat of the sunlight that they were grateful for a minute ago. And so if we want to cultivate gratitude and we want to feel more thankful thoughts in our lives, gratitude journaling is a classic way of doing it. I used to write down 10 things that I was grateful for every day just quickly, just be like, I had a toasted sandwich, it rocked. My wife loves me, that is sick. and what would happen is that by doing it, it didn't affect any part of my day. It only affected that like just before bed when I'm journaling time. And it was really nice. But what eventually started happening, because I started writing down the same things every day, because they're the things that I was most grateful for every day. Then when I was having my morning coffee, something I'm always grateful for, in the evening, when I would have my morning coffee in the morning, I would be like, oh, I'm going to write this down later. And then I would be like, oh, cool. Let's actually enjoy it. Let's not like neck the morning coffee. Let's like slow down, because I am grateful for this. I am thankful for this. This is a beautiful thing that I get to have. What a joy. And it would permeate my life with like moments of gratitude. I'd show up at work and I'd be like, I'm actually thankful that I do this job instead of working in a kitchen like I used to. Kitchens suck to work in so often. They suck if you work in one, power to you, but I can't do it. Or I don't want to do it, whatever. But I would show up at my work now and be like, not a kitchen, this is sick. And I would arrive with a new sense of gratitude. So by putting my mind to work in the evening, 10 things I'm grateful for, my mind would be ticking over thankful thoughts across the whole day. It took a little while to get going. It didn't happen like instantly that week, but after like 2 weeks of doing it, those thankful moments sort of permeated the rest of my time. We've also got journaling for self-respect. Our self-respect is often in the gutter, especially if we just listen to our, again, grasping, I want everything to be better all the time thoughts. We are not exempt from this wanting to be better, right? I want the burger to be better, but I also want me to be better. And a lot of us can find ourselves quite self-critical. And this can be useful, to motivate action, but probably is not wholesome at the end of the day. And so how do we journal for greater self-respect? Well, there's a great prompt. How did I contribute to the lives of others today? Sure, we're breathing in the world and we should be really, grateful for how the world is providing for us, but we're also doing stuff in the world, right? We're going to work and doing services for others, right? We're like delivering goods as a courier that people wouldn't have gotten otherwise, right? We're smiling at people when we walk past them, or we're paying people money for the things that we buy. Like all of us are contributing in little ways, whether we're just recycling or like picking up one bit of rubbish. And to acknowledge that every day, every day, whenever, you can do whatever you want, is a really good way of being like, yo, I might feel down in the dumps right now, but I have evidence. My mind has actually created evidence because I've pointed in the right direction, that I contribute to the world and that the world is probably glad I'm here. If I wasn't here, the world would probably be a lesser place. That's self-respect, dude. That's sick. Our minds are also quite distracted. They're easily, I don't want to think about that. They repress things easily for most of us and sort of sweep things under the carpet, under the rug, so that we don't have to think about it. And so journaling for accountability is a great way to put our minds to work in order to avoid this issue. And so there's some good ways of doing that. One is journaling for lifestyle audit, which is in a Struthless video. I'll link that. And essentially what you do is you write down everything you did in that day, and then you put it in two categories. One is like, I'm killing it, I rule, I do the best thing every day, and I'm just an awesome guy. And then the other one is like, oh, I'm probably like really lazy and I kind of suck, and like this is like old me that I really kind of want to get away from. And so like, let's say I got up at 5 this morning. That's like good will, I love that will, that's sick, love it. And then I also opened my emails before I did my morning pages. That's kind of trash will. It gets me in like internet brain. I don't like that. So that goes over here. And by sorting out our lives into these two categories, we can see patterns emerge. We can see where we're sort of not exactly proud of ourselves and where we are proud of ourselves. Journaling for accountability, so that we're not doing these behaviors relentlessly and being like, oh, whatever, and just trying to forget about them and repress them. We can actually see the evidence. Habit trackers are great for this too. And there's also one that is sort of tangential called journaling for daily reflections, which, oh geez, is that a whale? Oh, there's whales out there. Yo, let's go. That's sick. Oh, I wonder if there's more. I just see the, like, of some whales. Yeah, great. Oh, that's great. God bless them. Sorry. There's also journaling for daily reflections, which is awesome, which essentially has a couple prompts like what drained me of energy today, what got me excited today, and how did I push the needle forward? Like, how did I make progress in my goals today? And by doing this, it's going to be pretty obvious to me, at least, that checking my emails multiple times a day redundantly drains me of energy. Going on YouTube Shorts drains me of energy. Doing too many tasks back to back without like just a minute of recentering, especially if those tasks are on the computer, drains me of energy. Not exercising drains me of energy. These things can become patterns, and yet we cannot really notice them. But if we journal for daily reflections in this way, we'll see things really clearly. Within a week, we'll be like, oh, I need to stop having bacon and egg burgers every morning for breakfast. I get so sluggish after that. Sucks, right? Also, what excited me, same thing, but the inverse. It lets you know, like, what things were you really pumped for? I'm pumped for these videos. I'm pumped for my articles. I'm pumped for going to work. That's good to know, because if there's practices in my life that I'm doing really reluctantly and I'm never excited about them, maybe there's something to be tweaked there. Maybe there's something I can inject in there that gets me more pumped. Maybe I can dump it, replace it with something else that gets me excited. Why go to the gym if I don't like it when running gets me really pumped, right? Just do a different thing, bro. Yeah, and then also, how did I push the needle forward? Lets you know how you're actually working towards your goals every day, whether certain goals are falling to the wayside. Oh, I think I work on them every day, but I actually kind of work on them like 3 days a week, turns out, by my journaling. A great way of directing thought to sort of keep accountable and to know where your life is at, right? Also, I would turn the camera around and film these whales, but they're pretty far away, and I reckon you guys wouldn't see anything except for like a tiny little spurt of water. So if you want the glory of majestic whales, you're on YouTube. Look it up. I mean, if you want, it's up to you. If you do, the footage will be way better than this footage would have been. The camera doesn't have a very good zoomy lens on it. It's actually totally zoomed in right now. It's like 2 yards from me. All right. Also, when bad things happen, when we're not feeling good, let's say you have a conversation with someone at work and they go, oh, why were you on your phone yesterday? What was that about? I saw you were just like standing by the counter, you're on your phone. That might be a bad thing for you. And our minds naturally are going to be like, oh my God, Brad thinks I'm slacking off. Brad thinks I'm a lazy piece of weasel garbage. And he's probably talking to everyone about that. And he probably thinks that I'm actually not just a piece of weasel garbage at work. He probably thinks I'm a loser across the board. He probably never wants to see me again. Because why would he? Because he thinks I'm weasel garbage. This is, it's a sad reality that this is pretty natural for most of us to be like straight to worst case. Oh my God, what am I going to do? I suck so bad. And if this is how our minds naturally go, how do we redirect them and structure our thought so that this isn't the case? Well, journaling for when bad things happen is a great way to do this. This is another Struthless one, so please check out Struthless. He rocks. What do? We say, what happened objectively? Okay, Brad walked up to us in the break room and asked us why we were on our phone. That is what happened. Okay, second question. What did I make it mean? Well, I made it mean that Brad thinks I'm pathetic weasel garbage and all that stuff that I said earlier. Okay, true. I did kind of make it mean that. That isn't objectively what happened. That's meaning that I injected into the situation. Interesting. And then thirdly, the third sort of mind-directed thought direction is, how would I counsel a friend if this happened to them? And then you go, oh, I'd probably tell him that Brad probably doesn't think that. I'd probably tell him to apologize and accept responsibility, or explain it if there's no responsibility to be accepted. Oh, I was just checking the time or whatever. I'd explain it, and I'd say to Brad, oh, I got so scared that you thought I was a pathetic weasel. How insecure am I? Lol. That's so funny. Just to be honest and open with Brad and let him know what's up. Yeah, that's probably what I'd tell a friend to do. And I'd tell him to stop worrying. I'd tell him to write out all his thoughts and try and be chill about it and assume that Brad probably likes you because you're just probably a likable guy, especially because you've been doing all that self-respect journaling and you know how you contribute to others. This is a way nicer way to direct thought than the totally out of control, pathetic weasel garbage thought that we usually go through. And we've also got journaling for life direction, another Struthless prompt. Good on him, he rocks. Which is what did I want from my life 5 years ago? What do I want from my life in 5 years? And what will I want from my life 5 years from now? And so 3 perspectives. You're directing thought to take on these 3 perspectives to sort of clarify your direction in life, where you're headed, and whether you're into that. This is really strong because often, one, we've come way further in 5 years than we often imagine. Most of us are 5 to 7 years behind ourselves in terms of self-image. We think that we're still really struggling and still not that cool and stuff. But in actual fact, we're doing way better than we often realize. And so being all right, 5 years ago, I was this old, I was in this stage of my life, I was doing these things. Oh, what would I want? Oh, I'd probably want to be sober, doing creative things, blah, 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 all the stuff that we all, well, I don't know what you're up to, but I'm sober and I'm doing creative stuff now. That rules. I'm also married. I'd be pretty stoked about that 5 years ago. All right, cool. That's pretty sick. What do I want in 5 years from this current perspective? What am I trying to get after? Right? What are those longer term goals? And then I think crucially, this is always the one that's super telling for me, is what would I want to have achieved in 5 years' time? So okay, wind the clock forward. I'm 32. Where do I want to be at 32, as a 32-year-old? Do you know what I mean? We're looking backwards and being oh, am I actually accomplishing any of those things? If you want to be more financially secure or whatever, be oh, I'm actually setting up my future self right now. And it gets really clear about oh, I'm not just serving my future self. Sorry, I'm not just serving my present self, right, with the second prompt. I'm also serving my future self with the third prompt. Does that make sense? And finally, a little bonus round is when you're, let's say, I want to find a new job, right? That's the goal. If you want to do that, instead of being how do I find a new job? You can invert the question. This is a great one from Struthless. You can invert the question and it's so obvious. How do I not get a new job? Well, I don't look for jobs. Every time I have a spare afternoon, I just fritter it away on YouTube or something distracting. I never quit my job or give notice. And if I do look for jobs and I find them, I don't apply. I don't have all of my documents ready in a folder and a draft cover letter ready for when I do find a job so I can apply right away. When I have an interview, I flake on it because I'm scared, right? When I have an interview, if I don't want the job, I'll bomb the interview by being really anxious and drinking heaps of coffee beforehand. You just get all of these lists of really obvious ways to botch the thing. And then often, most of them, or a whole bunch of them, we're actually doing. I want to film more videos. How do I not film more videos? Well, don't get to know the camera. Don't figure out some kind of a routine in which making videos is easy and makes sense. Don't get the stuff ready the night before. And then I go, oh, that's all stuff that I'm doing. Oh, okay, well, let's do the opposite of that. Anyways, this has been Kind Regards the show. I hope this is a useful sort of compendium of ways of directing thought that are more helpful than the total, trash carnival, that is going on in most of our trains of thought. that is not useful at all, totally disparaging and self-deprecating and just useless trash thought. Hopefully this is more useful. Anyways, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time. I know it's precious. Let me know in the comments what you think. I like hearing from people, if you want to do that. And also, if you want to read some articles based on similar sort of stuff, you can do that at the Substack link that I'll put below. And there's also a YouTube and a Spotify link to get the content how you like it. I'm getting sleepy. All right. Thanks very much. See ya.